years ago, I went into a public bathroom, and it was kind of a nasty bathroom, and there was a dad in there with his kid. This is
Okay, I'm going to pause you for a second.
Go ahead,
okay, so this is also super important of the importance and the power of stories. Okay.
Yep.
Because what's going to happen? Two things are going to happen. One is right now, you start sounding, a few years ago, I walked into a bathroom and everyone's like, where's he going with this?
Yep.
Like, we just don't know. Like, is this going to be funny? Is this going to be sad? Is this going to be depressing? Is this going to be inspiring? I have no idea, right? But the other thing that's interesting about stories is when we finish this conversation, people finish this recording, that they're going to be able to remember bits and pieces. You know, we may talk for an hour, hour and a half or whatever, but people are going to remember like a few little things, which in some ways is depressing. We spend a lot of time, they're going to remember very, very little of what we talk about. But people will remember stories. And so what's crazy is like sometimes I will go, I'll pick up like my daughters from youth group at church, and they just got out of church, and I ask them, what did the youth pastor talk about? Jesus. He told the story, and then they will like articulate in detail the story.
Isn't that wild?
Because stories are so memorable and powerful. So I cut you off.
I love that though.
I want to hear what happened in the bathroom.
All right, so the bathroom. So I'm in this bathroom, and there's a dad in there with his little kid, and I had Rosie at this point, so we're both dads, and I look over and the little kid walks up to a full-length mirror, dirty bathroom, leans forward and just licks it. Just licks the bathroom mirror. And both the dad and I went, like lean forward, like to stop it, but it's too late, right? And we just like, we both look at the kid. We both just look at each other.
It's dad moment.
Dad moment. Close our eyes and we just walked out. It was like just like a pact. Like we'll never tell the wives, right? That this happened.
That's amazing.
But I have no point to that story. But I say this for a reason. I don't know the point yet, but it's been in my head and it's on a piece of paper. I wrote that story down and I've never found a way to use it yet, but I will. Like somehow, someday I'm going to be like, you know, whatever. And that's like, I mean, you kind of allude to it. Like, there's a dad moment. That's why there's something there. Like every father knows that moment where like another dad, you're like, yeah, we've been here. This is why Bluey is such a popular TV show, is because like every moment in the show Bluey is a parent going, yeah, I've been there before. So anyway, I keep track of these moments. I have an Evernote file where I've got hundreds of these real life examples or fake story. I mean, you know, historical stories, fake stories that just like I heard. Yeah. You never know when you're going to pull it out.
Yeah. But just like having I heard it described one time, like having your radar up.
Yep.
And so that could happen. You could walk out of the bathroom and you could never think twice about it. And your life would be totally fine. You continue to exist and that's no big deal. But just knowing like there's something there and that's something that people can relate to and that's something that people can connect with. I don't know how I'm going to connect the dots, but there's something there. And so continuing to like capture those, have it on radar, and then finding a way to just think through like, okay, now I'm going to find a way just to incorporate that into an interview or the next meeting or the next time I got to give a presentation. Or maybe, you know, tonight when I'm talking with my spouse, I'm going to mention this funny thing that happened. And I'm just going to tell them this funny story. And again, it may not go anywhere, but I'm going to at least be in the routine and the habit of capturing it.
How would you improve that story though? Are there ways I could make that funny, more memorable? Could I have started it stronger? Any suggestions on storytelling?
Yeah, so there's probably a few things that you could do. One is to think about details that add to the story, but don't necessarily take away from the story or become like this distraction. So if you said, okay, it was a Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. and I'm at, XYZ mall in such and such city and the weather was, in the mid 70s that day and we go into, and like we were shopping for a pair of jeans that day and like on and on and on. It's like the things don't actually add to the story, right? But if you were also to add some details where like, I walked into the bathroom with Rosie and it's already just this sketchy bathroom. How many of you have ever been to like a gas station that's at like a road stop or something?
Well, I love that you asked the question. You pulled them into the story.
Because immediately people are picturing it in their minds. They're just like, oh yeah, I don't know where this is going, but I know what he's talking about. Like everything is wet, and I'm just like, I don't know why everything is wet here, but like that's immediately like all of us picture it in our minds, So we're there, because you say I went to the bathroom with my daughter, and you're like, well, my bathroom's pretty clean at home, so it's like that what he went to, or like, kind of getting a picture without adding so many details. It's like that's not making any difference in the story. If you notice a sitcom, I heard of someone say one time in a sitcom, you never see the characters going to the bathroom because it doesn't move the story forward. It doesn't it doesn't change anything with the story, and so they cut out the non-essential details that keep the story moving forward, but enough details that you can kind of picture it in your mind. So describing that. Perhaps even describing like if there's anything interesting or compelling about this other dad or the other kid that again an audience can just relate to and put themselves into the story of just like, oh, he's kind of describing my kid right now, you know, or like I know that kid, you know, I know exactly what he's talking about there. The other thing that makes stories interesting, and especially humor, is when you allow the audience to get to the punchline before you say it. Okay, so if you said this, you're describing this kid, and the kid walks up to the mirror and he kind of looks around for a second, and then he opens his mouth and he sticks his tongue out, and the audience is already going like, no, he didn't, no, he didn't, don't say he did it, you know, and you're allowing them to get there before you get there, and so then you're kind of filling in the blank, and like he licked it, you know, and everyone's like, oh, he licked it, I knew it, I can't believe he licked it, you know, and from there you could do something about like, you know, we had to get a tetanus shot, and we had to, you know, like I had to sign this waiver with this, you know, and you can kind of embellish and do some like funny bits there. You can also sometimes what speakers can do with a story or some type of bit is they will start telling something and take a quick rabbit trail on it. You know, like how many of you have ever been on a road trip before? And you can just talk about road trips and then come back to the bathroom, you know? And so again, the point is like, have a reason to do it, and don't just like, have you been to a road trip? You guys ever been to Oklahoma? You know, they have a really good barbecue, you know, and you start like going, that's not going anywhere, but adding something to the story that makes it again a bit more memorable.
Yeah, what about somebody who says they're not funny? Like, I'm just not funny. I'm not a funny person. I don't have a great sense of humor.
I don't think you necessarily have to be funny. And again, some of this depends on the context of what we're talking about, where you could or couldn't be funny. You know, so if you are in the context of, let's say, an actual, you know, a professional or public speaker, and you're giving a speech, and you're like, how do I add some humor to it? One is, again, I don't think necessarily everyone has to be funny, because there are certainly speakers who they give a presentation, they're much more serious kind of in nature, but they may say like every so often a line that, because it's more not necessarily heavy, but just a more serious type of talk, that the funny line that they do say is more powerful and effective versus someone who's just funny the entire time. One thing that I think that speakers can do that's very effective with humor is oftentimes speakers are like, I don't feel like I'm funny, or I don't know what to say, or I don't even know if this is funny, but slides, pictures, videos can be really, really effective. So let me tell you a story, a quick example. A few years ago, I was speaking at a conference, and there was a keynote speaker, a friend of both of ours, I think, and they gave a talk, and the talk goes fine. And within that, they were a funny speaker, but one of the things that they did was they showed a video from YouTube, and it wasn't their video, it was just a random video. And it was a 20, 30-second video. And it was a really funny video. And so after their session, I am doing a session on speaking and finding gigs and developing your talk. And I said, okay, how many of you thought the previous speaker was funny? And everyone's like, oh yeah, very funny speaker. I said, what was the funniest part of what they did? And everyone's like, oh, that video was hysterical, right? And so they're associating the speaker being funny with all they did was push play on a video that they didn't even make. They just found it. And especially today with the amount of just funny content that's on the internet, whether it be, you know, here's a tweet that I saw that's not mine, that I just saw that's funny, or got a good reaction, or a picture on Instagram, or a short little reel, or whatever it may be. Like, there's a lot of funny content that you can use out there that's already been like vetted and is funny material that you can insert into your presentation.